All right. So today I want to talk about healthy relationships. I want you to be interactive with me. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm kind of sick and tired of Zoom. I've been subject to this due to COVID-19 and due to lockdown. So I don't like sitting there talking and hearing my own voice. I like it when people talk with me. So please feel free to chime in, to make your points known, to tell me if you disagree, tell me if you agree, tell me if I'm right, tell me if I'm wrong. Let's make this more conversational and less like a lecture. We're not in uni. So guys, listen, if you're available and if it's possible to do so, can I ask that you switch your cameras on, please? I don't want to embarrass anyone. And if it's not appropriate to do so, then don't. That's okay. But if you can, it'd be great to see your beautiful faces. Anyway, I want to talk about healthy relationships. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of a healthy relationship? Or what is a relationship? Anybody? Come on, Eve, talk to me. This is going to be a conversation.
When there's trust, when you got trust, Pastor.
Oh, hi, Angelina. How you doing?
Hi, Pastor. I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
I'm well. It's nice to hear your voice.
Likewise. But yeah, I think trust is ultimate. You need trust in a relationship. If you don't trust your partner, you know, ultimately God is the main point. We're all Christians here, but trust is definitely high up there.
Thank you. And for those who don't know, Angelina is my former member, so it's always great to hear my former members come on. All right, so trust is really important. What else comes to mind when you think of a healthy relationship?
I could define a relationship being a connection between one or more persons. And the reason why I say one or more persons, because for me, a friendship is still a relationship. And if we're talking about just, let's say, a boyfriend or girlfriend, it will be a connection between two persons of the opposite sex, as the young lady said before. It's based on trust, it's based on loyalty, it's based on love, and above all, it's based on God.
Lovely. Well said. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, what are the different types of relationships that are available? Go on, Laura.
Okay, for one, I did say friendship is a type of relationship, and of course you have different types of friendships where you have acquaintances, you have a good close friendship, but then you have obviously romantic relationships where you have dating, courtship, and then marriage.
Okay, brilliant. Now to make this easier, when we look at relationships, let's look at relationships in the context of romantic relationships. So if I asked you to give me a list of different types of romantic
Glenn
relationships.
was told that she was back, right? Glenn, her brother. I would hope so.
Hello.
That's right.
Anyone else?
You know, like the first documentation was like 11 something, or 10 something when she came back.
Is someone sharing, or are they just unmuted?
No, when we log in, automatically we are unmuted, but then in other platforms, we won't be. So the host needs to let the members know, or just mute everybody.
I see. Okay.
Because when we log in, it's unmuted already, but then because we've been in other platforms where that function is not there, you only realize when you start talking that, oh, maybe you're sharing two things that you shouldn't be sharing in this platform. Sorry, Pastor.
Oh, no problem, sis. Okay, well, maybe the administrator could attend to that.
I'll mute all, so you'll need to unmute yourself. You need to unmute yourself, Micah.
Also, is it back to me or somebody else is going to speak?
Go ahead, Laura. Were you talking?
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Okay, so we were saying then that okay, so if in the context of a romantic relationship, you start off obviously with dating, which is just the first base. Then you have courtship, and then everything, hopefully fiance, then marriage. Those are the relationships that we go on.
Okay. Thank you. That is a really good Adventist packaged answer. I like it. Outside of the Adventist, you've given us the summary of a great relationship. Outside of the constructs of a Adventist or a Christian-based relationship, what other relationships are there?
Boyfriend and girlfriend.
Boyfriend and girlfriend. Okay, what else are there?
Just starting off as being friends.
Just starting off as being friends. Okay. Anything else? Any other types of relationships?
Work?
No, we're talking about in the context of dating and relate, Okay, so let me help you out here. So here are some different types of relationships that are present. You have a link, where you're meeting someone and you're just linking up,
You mean friends with benefits?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Okay. Like, let's keep it like 100 here. We're all Christians and stuff, but these types of things do happen. So, okay. So for some people, we talk about linking up with someone, friends with benefits. That's a type of relationship. And that happens within the church too. Like, let's not pretend that it doesn't. You get friends who go to the same church or other churches, and they may not be ready for a long-term relationship. And so what happens is they just remain friends, but they have a little bit of a kiss and a cuddle. Okay, friends with benefits. Okay, what other types of relationships are? You have threesome relationships, which involve 3 people that are involved. It doesn't always have to be a sexual relationship, but can also be an emotional relationship where 3 or multiple people are emotionally invested. Now, this happens. What happens is you get somebody who is attracted to 2 people and they can't make their mind up. Do I marry A or do I marry B? Listen, A's got the house and the car, but B's attractive. A's got the good job and can provide and give me money to send back home to my family, but B is a really good listener. A makes me laugh, but B is practical. You get the point. And so what happens is there is a triangular relationship consisting of 3 people. Very messy, often happens even within the context of the church. Other types of relationships there are. So we've mentioned friends with benefits. You've mentioned just linking someone. What about the whole Netflix and chill relationship? Are you guys familiar with this? Eve has no idea what I'm talking about. Eve, you don't look too old to understand, okay?
What are you talking about, Pastor?
Listen, we have to move with the times, people. So a Netflix and chill relationship. It's a relationship where 2 people get together, they watch a movie, and they basically spend time together, normally intimately. So they may not actually be in a relationship, but they're linking up to have some fun. It's kind of like a friends with benefits relationship, but they may not actually be friends. They're just spending time together intimately. Now, is that a secure relationship?
Nope.
Why is it not secure?
No rules and boundaries.
So then why are rules and boundaries necessary?
You know where you stand.
Yeah, and then there's commitment to the rules and boundaries. If there's no such commitment, things can just fall apart anytime, anyway.
Okay. Okay. So why does there need to be commitment and boundaries in a relationship? Why can't a relationship just be free flowing?
It's not biblical.
Okay, but let's take away the Bible aspect just for a second. Why can't relationships just be free flowing? Let's talk about this from the context of relationships, without the Bible, without God, but just relationships. Why can't they just be free flowing?
because it gives people option to just come out of the relationship and also to do things that are not acceptable. Because in a relationship, there's got to be guidance. Otherwise, people do everything and anything and everything. So they need to keep to, yeah, because otherwise there won't be an agreement. You end up one person is doing another thing, the other one is doing another thing, and some people also are into taking other people for advantage of them, and just not be serious. But then, especially with women, it's a problem. We want commitment. We really want people that are serious. Yeah, but if people just come in and they're not serious, and sometimes they end up not being serious with so many other people as well outside of this one relationship, because there are no boundaries. Nothing is keeping them.
So it seems like the general consensus from what I'm picking up is, for a relationship to be stable, there has to be trust, there has to be commitment, and there has to be boundaries. Now, I always tell people this: before you get into a relationship, always make it plain to the person who you're getting with what your expectations are. Like, some people don't. Like, you'd be surprised. Lots of people never establish boundaries. They never they find it hard to develop trust. They find it hard to develop commitment because they never display what their expectations are from the onset of the relationship. So I always tell people, if you're getting into a relationship with someone, let them know what they are getting themselves into. What are they signing up for? Are you hoping that you will end up getting married to each other? Are you hoping that you will just go with the flow and have some fun? Are you hoping that you will one day be able to bring them home to your family? Are you hoping that one day you'll be able to fall in love and have children? Or are you just seeing how it goes? Do you understand my point? Like, if things aren't disclosed from the onset, then what happens is feelings get really, really hurt along the way. Okay. What about this? Does this happen to guys?
I think you got this the wrong way around.
Have I?
Well, I can't answer this question, but I remember it was yesterday even we were talking about this, and there was this guy, he was a virgin, and at the time there was this woman that he was dating and stuff like that, and he was trying to keep himself for him to be married, and the woman was like, why don't you want to have sex with me? We don't you love me and stuff like that? And then he slipped up once and she got pregnant, and that was the end of that. So it does happen.
Well, how did she feel about that situation?
Well, I don't know. It was just a situation that was given in one of my youth group discussions yesterday. So my first elder was telling a story where that did happen, and it is true. So it can happen. That's all I'm saying. But normally, as Eve said, it's the other way around.
Well, the thing is, you'd be surprised to know that it goes both ways. And when I saw this meme, I thought that too. I thought, wow, they've obviously got this twisted. But the reality is, a lot of guys struggle with this too. So it's not just guys going around like ravenous wolves looking to tear into the flesh of these virgin SDA girls. The way it works is it goes both ways. And we live in a society where sex is the norm. Like, we can try to pussyfoot around this, and we can try to butter this up, but the reality is we live in a world, in a society where sex is expected in a relationship. And if two people get together and they really love each other, then they're naturally going to desire to sleep with each other. It has to be there has to be boundaries to prevent people from sleeping together in their relationship. Otherwise, it just becomes a norm. Does that all make sense? Are you with me, guys? So there have been guys who have spoken to me who have said to me that they find it really hard because they're trying to keep themselves pure, just like what you said, Laura, but they've had girls that have pressured them so much to the extent that they've just either given in or not known what to do and found it really hard. So quite often guys get their reputations for being dogs, and girls get their reputations for being, I won't say it, but the reality is, in our church, there's lots of people that are hitting it. It's just the way it is. Okay, I hope this isn't too racy for anybody. What comes to mind when you read this caption and see this picture?
No comment.
No, you have to give me a comment, Laura. Come on now.
I'm going to shy away and let somebody else in the group answer.
Okay.
There was no consent.
That's what comes to mind. There was no consent?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow,
I think, okay, I was saying chilling for me would obviously have been just maybe cuddling or something like that, whereas drilling is actually having sex.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? This is why once again I make the point of boundaries are really important. If someone invites you over to watch a movie with them, it's important that you understand what they're inviting you over for. You know, it's like if you take a girl on a date and she says, do you want to come in for a drink? Is she inviting you in for a coffee or a herbal tea or, you know, a barley cup or a Milo or a mint tea, or does she expect something else? Right? When boundaries aren't clear, people slip up and find themselves in situations that they look back and regret. And I've spoken to lots of people who have had lots of regrets because they have found themselves in situations, and it's not because someone's taken advantage of them, but it's because they've let their guard down. You know, when we let our guard down, sometimes we can find ourselves in situations where we think, if only I was smarter, if only I thought before that happened, because you can't take back your actions, can't take back the words you say. But what you can do is move forward and learn from these experiences. So I say that with no judgment. Okay, so this is why I always say to people, your heart is really precious, and it's precious because God created you to be emotional beings. Now, God didn't just make sex to be a physical act, he also created it to be an emotional act. It's the closest any two humans can be physically, spiritually, and also emotionally. When two people have sex, it's very difficult for them to remove the emotional connection. Some people say that they can sleep with loads of people without an emotional tie, but once in a while you slip up and you catch feelings. And these are things that happen normal. This is why God's always said it's better that you wait till you get married before you sleep with each other. That's something that he's always wanted us to do, but we live in a society where people often don't wait. Now, our heart isn't just precious relating to the whole sexual thing. It's also precious because people can string you along emotionally. And there are some people that have said that people have taken advantage of them and they've been so emotionally broken that they found it difficult to trust and to move on and to find happiness in a stable relationship. Why? Well, because our hearts are precious. And if we don't guard our hearts and protect our hearts, we can often find our hearts being broken and people taking advantage of us. Now, my question to you is happiness enough in a relationship? Guys, please don't make this painful for me, yeah? Please talk to me.
I believe happiness is enough, because if you're not happy, you can't really stay somewhere that you're not happy long term. It emotionally drains you. So I think happiness is enough, because you could have everything going on for you, but you're sad and you're not communicating. So then it makes it harder.
Thank you. Absolutely, Angelina. Thank you. Anyone else? Is happiness enough in a relationship?
A happy wife, a happy bride, a happy home.
Okay, Richie. So happiness is important and is enough for you. Anybody else?
Yes, I believe with happiness comes everything else can come out of happiness. You want to do things, you want to just be, you just want to just act. Happiness alone can bring that out.
I agree.
Good.
Once you're happy,
Anyone
everything
else?
falls in place. Once you're happy, everything else falls in place.
Once you're happy, everything else will fall into place. Okay, anyone else? So it all depends on how you define happiness. Now, listen to this carefully. Some people define happiness as leaving their country, where they may have been living in poverty, and coming to the UK where they have a stable society. Some people see that as happiness. Some people see happiness as getting married to someone who's a provider for them. They don't necessarily define love as happiness. They see happiness as the practicalities of life. Some people define happiness as, I'm with my husband, he annoys me, but he's giving me children, and my children give me joy in the relationship. Have you ever heard that? People, when their kids go to uni, the marriage breaks up because the only thing holding them together were their children. Some people define happiness as money. I don't need love, I just need loads of money, and that equals happiness. Other people see happiness as having a person who is prayerful in their home. So everyone views happiness differently. And I think it's always important for people to understand what their context of happiness is within their relationship. So I always tell people, write a list down of all of your expectations, needs, wants, and desires in your relationship. Write them down. So they may be, okay, I need my spouse to earn a certain amount of money. I need to go on holidays. I need to ensure that we have a family of some sort. I need to ensure that our in-laws are looked after. I need to ensure we have date night once a month. You know, lots of people define happiness in different ways. And once they're able to critically assess what happiness looks like, they then have a goal to work towards. Otherwise, they can be aimlessly peddling, looking for something that doesn't exist. So my question is, what makes a relationship for you happy?
Communication. Like if we are open to communicate with each other, if I'm free to say what I want and they're free to say what they want to hear.
Okay. Okay. So communication. Anything else?
If the person loves the person, and then we accept each other for who we are, we do most things together, pray together, and do most things together, that will make me happy.
Okay. Doing things together makes you happy. Anyone else?
Let me just try this. One of the most important thing about an effective relationship is when both persons are comfortably compatible.
Mm-hmm.
When you see the challenges or the struggles, and both of you have the mentality, you have the emotional stability to work through them, and you understand each other, you know, that makes a tremendous difference in a relationship. Because I overheard you mention earlier about happiness. What makes one person happy doesn't always make the two parties happy. And,
right.
you know, yes. And then one of the things we have to realize too is that sometimes the challenges that one person had in a relationship becomes the area of concentration when they move into another. One thing can make you happy in one relationship and it makes the other party sad. And then if you move into another relationship, you have to adjust yourself in order to make sure you don't repeat the same problem.
Absolutely. Thank you, Claude Edwards. Thank you. Good to have you on this
Yes,
platform,
Pastor Campbell. Yes, Pastor Campbell.
Blessings to you, man. Blessings. Good to have you on this forum. Thank you for that.
Thank
Good point.
So much.
Thank you. Are there any other points about happiness?
I think honesty.
Honesty. Okay, so honesty makes you happy, makes you feel secure.
Yep.
Good, good. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, respect.
Respect.
Support.
Good.
Support and caring for each other.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Respect, support, and care for each other. Anyone else?
All right. I think that once each other learn to accept each other for whatever they have, and satisfied with whatever each other bring to the table. And I just heard something about compatibility. Once God put two people together, there is no such thing as compatibility. Compatible. So that's my little take.
That's interesting. Okay, interesting point, Linville. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, let's go to this. Is it possible to be happy and miserable in a loving relationship?
I must say, if you are miserable, then you're not happy. I don't think miserable can work with happiness. Either you're miserable or you're happy. If you're miserable, you're not happy. And if you're happy, you cannot be miserable. So I don't think both of them can work.
Brilliant. Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else?
I'm sorry, Pastor. I didn't get the question.
Okay, so the question is it possible to be happy and miserable in a loving relationship?
I believe, yes, it can be possible, because they can be making you happy in one way, but there are some things you can't get along with, like you can't agree on certain things.
Interesting, Millicent. Thank you. Thank you. So we have different views here, and people view happiness in different ways. To some people, happiness refers to an aspect of their relationship. So happiness for some people is security. I have a secure person. My husband or spouse isn't cheating on me by sleeping with loads of people. I've got the bills paid, the mortgage is paid. You know, I've got a life. That's enough. But they annoy me and make me miserable. And some people display that or suggest that is happiness and misery together. Other people suggest that it's impossible to be happy and miserable. The two do not work. You're either happy or you're miserable. And if you're miserable, you can't truly be happy. So everyone's perspective is slightly different when it comes into the way they view a relationship. My question is love enough in a relationship to make you happy?
No, it isn't.
It isn't. And why is that, Laura?
Well, generally, from experience, you might love somebody, but they don't respect you enough, or they don't have an ambition, or like different things that will make the oil in the relationship keep turning the wheel, basically. So there's certain things, yes, you may love somebody, and the question then is it love? If it is that it's blinded by other things. But generally, love should be, but it's not always enough to make a relationship work.
Love should be, but isn't always enough to make a relationship happy. Okay. Any other points? Good point, Laura. Any others?
Love is everything, but it have to have a balanced scale. That person cannot love this person, this person doesn't love that person. And if both of you guys love each other equally, how love is supposed to be, then love is everything, because once there is love, if you're gonna put in material things in it to love each other, then you don't love each other. You love what the person have. If you can accept the person for who they are, for who God made, then that's love. Accept the person for him or her, human being. That's love.
Thank you. This is what I would say in addition to what you've said. Thank you for your point. I don't believe love is a feeling or an emotion. Many people do. I believe that love is a principle. Principles don't change. Feelings and emotions do. If I truly love someone, I will do the very best I can to make them happy. If God truly loves us, You know, he blesses us with life, blesses us with many gifts, blesses us with many things. If God expects us to love him, he expects us to keep his commandments, obey him, accept him as our Lord and Savior. So love is a principle. How do I know? Well, it says in 1 Corinthians 13, it says love is kind, love is patient, love is not puffed up, and so forth. Love is a principle. I had a hand up by a lady. Here we go. N. Clayton. Go ahead, sis.
All right, just as you were saying, good evening.
Good evening.
Love is a broad heading, and if you love someone, you're going to respect them, first of all, and you're going to accept them for who they are. And if you're having issues, you're going to compromise, because love covers all, and you're going to be faithful. So everything would come under the broad heading of love.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you.
Let me just say some things that, you see, there are some things that the Bible says that are descriptive, and some things the Bible says that are prescriptive. Some things describes something, and other things God prescribes them.
Okay.
But when the Bible says love covers all, it doesn't mean the love for humankind to one another covers all like that. It's the love of God covers all. Because if you have some people who are loving, but they're lazy, they have no ambition. Love don't cover all. Not because you love somebody means that you're going to mistreat them, or because you love them, you're going to not take up your responsibility or become actively involved. Because you love them, you used to show interest in Bible study, but now that you're married and you love, you don't want to show that anymore and all those kind of stuff. Yeah, love, God's love covers all. And as a result of that, we as human beings, we have to look at life differently, because the truth is compatibility, as I said before. And I heard the brother made a comment about compatibility, that if you're a Christian, there's nothing near compatibility. There is a lot called compatibility. If you're not compatible with somebody, you're going to be equally miserable. And the deal is, you have to ensure that the people who you are in love with, they share the same common principles to life like you do. If you walk with a company of wise, you will be wise. If you walk with a company of fools, you end up being just like them, because you're going to end up being like the person who you're walking with. That's how we talk about love languages. Love languages are very important for us to understand. What are your love languages? What are the love languages of the spouse you have? Are you compatible? If you're not compatible, you're going to be miserable.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Brother Claude. Appreciate that. Good words. Compatibility is really important. And there's a passage in the Bible which speaks about that, which talks about being unevenly yoked. The whole idea of being unevenly yoked, many people look at just to do with a Christian marrying a non-Christian, or an Adventist marrying a non-Adventist. The whole concept about being evenly yoked comes from the ideology of oxen. Oxen would be normally matched in terms of strength and in terms of height. Then a plow would be put across their backs and they would pull that plow. If they both were the same height but not the same strength, the plow would topple over or pull in the wrong direction. If they were the same strength but not the same height, the plow would fall off their shoulders. So compatibility is really important, and I'm going to look at that a bit later. I don't want to just go too far into that just yet. I had some questions. I've got N. Clayton again, and I had a lady called, I think it was Dulcie, who put her hand up also. Now, I can't see all the hands, so can somebody, can an administrator just moderate that for me, please, so that I can see the questions?
All right, Clayton again responding.
Okay.
When I speak of love, I know that you're not going to dismiss the human part of it and compatibility and all that you're supposed to look for in a partner. But if we are looking at Christ, how he loves the church, and he gives us an example to love our partner just as how he loves the church. And many persons in the church are not perfect. So you're going to love with that full love. I know that we might have faults, yes. But as I said before, love would cover all.
Okay. Thank you for your point, sis. I've got a comment by Candy Dulcie. Candy, go ahead. I've read your comment, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in regards to love, I agree with you that Love is not an emotion, but a choice. And a speaker called Chip Ingram, I love how he defines love using biblical principle, that love is giving someone what they need the most when they deserve it the least. The same way God gives us what we need the most, though we don't deserve it. So it's a choice that we pick someone who we want to give what they need the most, though they don't deserve it.
Wow, great point, Candy. Thank you. I'm just going to build upon what you're saying from taking a passage from the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 4 onwards. It says, love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will fail. Where there are tongues, they will cease. Where there is knowledge, it will vanish away, and so on. Everything about this passage is a principle, and everything about this passage comes back to choice. If we are to fall in love with somebody and to embark on a long-term safe relationship, then we have to make a choice to love them, to be kind to them, not envy, not puff up ourselves, not be rude or disrespectful, not provoke them, not think of them in evil ways, and so forth. And it goes both ways. This is why I never understand when somebody beats their spouse or their girlfriend or boyfriend and says, man, I love them, but when they mess up, I beat them, because that's not true love. That example is not found in the Word of God. And so I always tell people, when you're getting into a relationship, have a list. Like, there's nothing wrong with having expectations. Some people say women are too fussy. I don't think there's anything wrong with being fussy. Never settle for anything less than you believe you deserve. If you believe you deserve Prince Charming, then don't settle for a dog. If you believe that you deserve a princess, then don't settle for a road girl. You choose what you believe you deserve and choose someone valuable to you. Linville.
I just want to go back to the compatible thing. I never said that there is no such thing as incompatible. I'm saying that when God put two people together, none of us know the right person more than how God know them for us. So, and God is not going to put two people together who is not compatible for each other. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying there is no compatibility. But when God put us together, there will be no compatible.
Thank you for that. The question I want to ask, Linville, building upon what you've said before I come to Millicent, is do you believe that God puts people together, or do you believe that God allows us to make choices?
God always allows us to make choices. What life is all about choices is the choice that we make. But some of the time, if we look carefully, the choices that we made, if we did depend upon God and rely on Him, we would have made better choices, and don't rely upon self and what we think is right for us. We would have made better choices.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Good point. Good point. Sister Millicent, please.
Pastor, there was an interesting question in the chat which says, what does it mean to be unequally yoked? I just wanted to say that you can be unequally yoked even when you're in the same church. If you don't complement each other spiritually, you might be unequally yoked. For example, let's say I'm involved in the ministry, like I do Pathfinders, Master Guide, or visitations or anything, and my partner is not supportive, or he doesn't compliment me, he's trying to pull me down, like I can consider that as if we are not equally yoked, because I should get someone who lifts me up in all aspects, like emotionally, physically, and spiritually too. I don't need someone to pull me down. Like if you found me being involved in the ministry, you should come and support me than you try to pull me down.
Thank you. Very good point. Very good point. And the best way I can explain unevenly yoked once again is this: it's basically being poorly matched with someone. And so Paul says in Corinthians, do not be unevenly yoked or unevenly matched with non-believers. And once more, the illustration was about oxen who would pull a plow. They needed to be the same size and same strength. If they weren't, it wouldn't really work. And the same is with relationships. If you are matched with somebody who you're not on the same page with, and you might be Adventists, you both may be Seventh-day Adventists, but you both may just not get on with each other. So part of that passage refers to spirituality, and the other part refers to compatibility. Now, the two go hand in hand. You need to be spiritually connected with someone, and you also need to be compatible with them. If you are spiritually connected with someone, they're your prayer partner. But if you're not compatibly matched with someone, the relationship won't work. And in fact, it will be a complete disaster because you would drive each other mad. Let's look at this carefully before I move on to some more slides, which I'm sure will invoke more discussion. Healthy versus unhealthy relationships. So lots of people find it hard to identify an unhealthy relationship when they're in it. So I always tell people, look for red flags. When people show you who they are, believe them. When people display to you characteristics that you don't like, pull them up on it. Like when you are getting into a relationship or meeting somebody or developing a friendship with someone or building an attraction, or they're chirping you, whatever it might be, I think it's really important for you to understand the red flags. And here's an example of some of them. So I'll start with the healthy first, and I'll go to the unhealthy. So healthy relationships comprise of compromise, support, own hobbies. Both are viewed as equal, lots of honesty, encouragement. Each person has their own space. Love is displayed. They both have choices and options. They both are reliable. They both believe in privacy for their own relationship. So you're not chatting all your business to everybody. And also privacy with each other. Like there's nothing wrong to be a little bit private in a relationship. You don't have to tell the person you're with every single thing all the time. You can keep some things back. We'll talk about that in a second. Friendship, respect, compliments. Like if your partner isn't complimenting you, isn't telling you that you look nice, that you're attractive, that they're attracted to you, then it's an issue. Own interests, consistency, own friends and support. That's really important. Now, unhealthy relationships look like this. Feeling anxious around the other person, feeling overwhelmed, feeling trapped, mistrust, abuse. And there's lots of different forms of abuse. Abuse isn't just emotional abuse. You have sexual abuse. You have mental manipulation, which is a form of abuse as well. You also have spiritual abuse, e.g., you are my partner, you're my wife. Therefore, every time I ask you for it, you should be getting to the bedroom and giving it to me. Because the Bible says that women must submit. That is spiritual abuse. Like, please, if you find yourself in a situation like that, please do get some help, because that's spiritual abuse. Checking your phone or your social media constantly, being overly jealous, wanting to know where you are all the time, no choices, accusing you of cheating, isolation, criticism, feeling scared, cheating, manipulation, control, lies, obsessive behavior, and also erratic behavior. These here are examples of unhealthy relationships. Any questions before I move on? Okay. Someone has a question?
No.
Okay. So my question is this to the ladies. Ladies, what do you look for in a man? Okay, Eve, come on.
I was going to say, I'm sure they have a list, because these Adventist ladies always have a list.
Come on, ladies. Come on. I want to hear you talk. Eve, come on. Give me your top 5. Drop it like it's hot now. Your top 5.
For me.
Yes, Eve, for you.
Okay, I'm not looking.
Okay, that's fine. Let's say your top 5.
Well, I didn't. Okay, what I look for is godliness. Look at their character, compatibility. A working man as well.
Godliness, compatibility, a working man. That's 3.
Character.
Character, 4. One more, please.
Oh, I think that's all I have.
Do they need to be attractive? Do they need to be funny?
I think that comes under compatibility.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. Okay. I don't see it as the same, but okay. That's fine.
For me, yeah, that's in there. Yeah.
For you, it's in there. Okay. So
yeah.
Compatibility is also like attractiveness as well. That's fine. Thank you. Millicent's got your hand up. Let's hear Millicent.
For me, they should have a career.
They should have a career.
Yes, they should have a good career so that I will be a little bit guaranteed that we can help each other, take care of each other. So career, God-fearing, respectful. They should have respect for me and my family, because they're not just going to get involved with me. My family will be involved too. And they should be healthy. You don't want someone who's sick. So they should be in a position they're healthy, and they should be supportive.
Supportive as well. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Any more before I read what's in the chat? Anne-Marie Lake, come and talk to me. Thank you, Millicent. Anne-Marie, you got your hand up, but you're muted. I can't hear you.
Yes. So for me, yep, someone that's godly, someone that's interesting, intellectually stimulating. Now, those two are interchangeable, the same thing. Honest, and yeah, someone that's fit, that likes to keep healthy, like exercise, eat healthy, and things like that. I mean, I'm not saying fanatically, they don't eat anything that's unhealthy, but they like to look after their body and their health.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah. And compatibility includes, attractiveness and, in terms of our personality, being compatible, sense of humor and all of that.
Brilliant. Well said. Thank you. I read some of the things that I have here, while some people may be also wanting to add some points. Godly, men who do not cheat, character, men who are serious about family, men who are spiritual, friendly man, a leader, hardworking, passion for God, stability, funny, family oriented, cute to me. Okay, good points. Anyone else? Before I go over to the man, God-fearing, good character, loving, helpful, good hygiene.
Can I make a point?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not supposed to be here, okay?
Why?
I believe though, I'm conducting something else right now, but don't worry about it. So for me, I believe that any man that genuinely loves God will genuinely loves me. So, and then everything else will just basically fall into place. Because you love God, you'll be hardworking. Because you love God, you'll want to love and take care of your family. I mean, granted, yes, you may be looking for attraction and being attractive and intellectual and stuff like that. But because, to be honest with you, I need someone that intellectually stimulates my mind. And because if you don't intellectually stimulate my mind, it doesn't make sense. If I can't carry on a conversation with you, it doesn't make sense. So I've met some people that were very smart, but I could not have a conversation with them.
Absolutely, of course.
So,
but then
go ahead.
No, you first. Sorry.
So I mean, all of those. I think those are my top 5. I mean, granted, all the others are kind of temporal or kind of materialistic. Basically, for me, yes, I mean, I believe a man should be a provider. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me twisted. I believe so. I believe the guy should be a leader. And be the head, not necessarily lauding his the fact that he is the high priest of the home over me, but the fact that he is willing to take care of me like I am part of him.
Okay, good, good point. I'll just say, in addition to what you said, you mentioned the point, I don't want to misquote you, about a man loving God. If he loves God, you believe he will be hardworking and love you and care.
Genuinely loves God.
Genuinely. Okay.
It's very important, genuinely.
The sad reality, though, is there are lots of guys that genuinely love God, but they don't know how to treat a woman.
But that means there's something lacking, and maybe they're not seeking God wholeheartedly or realistically. I
think you maybe yes, and also maybe the fact that some people just don't know how to treat other people. Like, think about it in this context. Our church is filled with loads of people who genuinely believe they love God and they genuinely want to get to heaven, and they don't treat everyone fairly. And there are some people that get into relationships and they are real God-fearing people, but they are punitive and manipulative, and they don't believe they're doing anything wrong.
But how can you be manipulative and then say that you're a Christian?
I tell you why. Because lots of people don't realize the error of their ways. There are lots of people who are ignorant to their behavior. They're ignorant to the feelings of other people. And because of that, they can be harsh and treat people like trash. Maybe they don't mean to do it. You know, like you get some people that have a sharp tongue. They're real God-fearing, but they tell you about yourself, you know, and that's not the way a Christian should be. So I just say be careful with that one, because there are lots of people who genuinely love God, but they may not genuinely know how to treat people.
That kind of sound like an oxymoron, to be honest.
All right, I'll explain.
I'll be quick. I believe, though, everything else, maybe look at the example of Jesus. Yes, he was sharp-tongued when it was needed, but he also had one of the most tenderest voices. He just knew the when and the where. And granted, I know that sanctification is the process of a lifetime, and all of us are not at the same point. However, I'm saying that if it is that I am dealing with a person, and is especially a person that I love, you will try to do everything within your power to make that person feel as if they are the only person in the world and they're loved. And even if you are sharp-tongued with other people, I'm sure you won't be sharp-tongued with that person.
Okay.
Or as sharp-tongued.
I understand what you said. I respond to it this way, and of course, I'm happy for you to disagree with me because I don't have all the answers. I've met lots of people in counseling who come from very broken backgrounds. They're very broken. They come from dysfunctional homes. They've maybe seen abuse in their own homes, and they love God genuinely, but they can't help but perpetuate the things that they've seen and the things that they've experienced, because we tend to replicate what we see. And so I think, and this is just my opinion, and I could be wrong, and I'm happy for you to disagree with me, but my opinion is there are lots of people who are broken, and unless they are fixed, they take that brokenness into their marriage, into their relationships, and into the way they raise kids and treat their spouse, because we are fallen individuals. And lots of people just naturally have propensities to do certain things, and some of which aren't naturally good. And this is why I say people genuinely love God, but genuinely may not know how to treat each other.
Okay.
We have 3 hands raised.
There's 3 hands raised. Okay. Who was first? I think it was it Anne-Marie, Millicent, and Ruthie?
Yes. Go with Millicent. Okay. Millicent?
Yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to put it down. Like, it's not allowing me to put my hand down.
Okay, Anne-Marie, I'll do that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, my point is just related to what Laura just said and what you responded to her. She said that godly men, if he's a godly man, he will be hardworking. And I don't agree with that statement, and for exactly the same reasons that you were saying. And I'll give a scenario. There was, and this is true, there was someone who went out with a man who was godly, and that's what she admired about him, and they got married, but he never worked, and he didn't want to work. He just wanted to study the Bible. And in the end, because she had to carry everything financially. She had to carry the relationship. The relationship broke down. So I do agree with you that, Pastor, that not necessarily because someone is godly that they will be hardworking. I think that's really idealistic to think like that people are perfect because they're godly, because we see that even I think was it Peter was prejudiced. So we just have to just know that people are just, because someone's a godly person doesn't mean that they're perfect. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that point. Ruthie.
Oh, sorry, I forgot I was not unmuted. I'm so happy to be here. It's my first time to be here.
Okay.
I was invited by someone who is not here, unfortunately, on the platform, but I'm so happy. I wanted to add on what the pastor said about what Sister Laura said about having a man who genuinely loves God, that they would love her. And I just wanted to echo what the pastor was saying. It's not true. I've seen so many people in church who genuinely love God. And also genuinity is relative. What does it mean to genuinely love God? Because all of us are still in the process of, perfecting ourselves. We're still in this world of sin. So I could genuinely love God, but I'm lacking in some area and another person is better than me. And I think, like the pastor said, I still believe that if we pray that God gives us that person that He created us for, the compatibility and everything would work out. Because someone can be like the best preacher in the church, the best youth in everything, but they're not a good partner and they will never make you happy. They don't you are not compatible at all. So someone could genuinely actually love God, but like Pastor said, they have come up from a broken family. They are not compatible with you. They have trauma patterns. Like they cannot just be genuinely in love God, and that automatically takes them off. Like, oh, this is messed up, right? No.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ruthie. Thank you,
Winfrida.
Winfrida, sorry.
Okay. Here's my 2 cents on this one. I believe, according to what I've been learning and what I've been studying, when someone genuinely loves God, they are going to make an effort to do what they are supposed to do. I don't believe if there's someone who genuinely loves God and that they just want to study God's word and not work, because work is godly. Every person should work, female, male, everyone is supposed to work. 6 days we shall labor and rest on the Sabbath. So if I claim to be a godly person and I don't treat people right, it's part of me not treating people right, then I'm lying to myself. And I think we should separate principle from compatibility. I know we are all working towards something and making ourselves better every day, but if we are truly trying to be who we are supposed to be as God's children, as individuals, and living as Christ has purposed us to be, we are going to be making an effort to love, to learn to love. We can't continue living in the past just because we were hurt. I think for almost everyone here, maybe just a few, everyone has had some kind of abuse and something that has been negative in their past, and you can't continue living like that, because that means that you just you do not want to grow. And according to what I've come to understand and learn and read about God's word, Christ expects us to grow. We are not supposed to learn or to remain as children, whether spiritually, mentally, or any part of our lives. We are supposed to grow, continue growing. So genuinely loving God calls one to make sure that there's a balance in everything.
Good.
If you need to seek help, someone should seek help. If
Mhm.
someone needs to learn a trade, even if there's no job around because of COVID, they can't say, I'll just wait for Christ coming. You are supposed to do something. As a person, whether male or female, you are supposed to work because you are God's child and it's godly. Being idle is being, we all know the saying that goes like, an idle mind is the devil's workshop. So
Yeah.
you can't, anyone who claims anything that, who does anything that is against what God says, they do not genuinely love God if they're not making an effort. Yeah, we've had different past and everything, maybe negative things, but when we are growing in love with Christ and we genuinely want to be like Him, we are going to be making an effort to be changing, and it shows when someone is making an effort. You can't just say, I've always had a temper, and so I should continue treating people like that, but I love God. Who am I cheating? You know? So someone, I agree with what Laura was saying. You know, it's a blanket statement when you say someone who genuinely loves God, because their character will slowly change. And we are reminded most of the times that by beholding, we become changed. Even if I read the Bible very much, and I understand what God wants me to be, I'll grow in that image, but that does not mean I should not work, I should not love, I should not care for those around me, because the greatest commandment we've been given as God's children is to love one another, and love is expressed in actions. So no love for God, no love for humans.
Absolutely.
You know, so, yeah.
Thank you so much for your points. Thank you, Winifreda. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go to the men now. So men, what do you look for in a woman? Let's whiz through these ones, gents.
Okay, let me try before we get impatient here. All right, first and foremost, I'm listening to the ladies and I'm so disappointed. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of times women are looking for the kind of men that they are not even the kind of women that deserve those kind of men. A lot of times you find women who they have problems in a first relationship, they take it out on the next man and they're expecting it, they look for it. Number three, even Jesus got mad on earth, got upset when he walked into the temple and saw how his temple was being utilized. So here's the deal. Women seem not to understand. A lot of women don't understand that the kind of man that you're looking for, you will find him. But I'm disappointed that I don't hear any other women say that they're looking for a kind of man that God provide for them. Because there are so much manipulations and all these things going on. As Pastor said, you can't look at a man and know. You pretend, he will tell you he have money and you take him to Burger King and he can't buy the fries. So here's the deal. You have to put yourself in a position where you allow God. Too many women are depending on themselves to find a man. I want a man who's handsome, a man who has muscles, even banana tree have muscles. I want a man this, and try and find a man that God has provided for you. That's the kind of woman I have found. I wanted a woman who God provided for me. I pray to the Lord. I see a lot of them. I see a lot of openings. It's like when you put out an application for a job and you see a whole heap of job available and you pray to the Lord and ask Lord, help me to choose the right one. Because when God helps you to make the choice, he'll help you to stay in it.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Claude. Thank you for that powerful words. Anyone else got anything to add? Thank you, Claude. Anyone else got anything to share?
Fiona says, I don't want to find a man.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
Maybe the man should find her then. So
wait. Hold your horses, Missy. It's the guy's turn to talk. So men, what do you look for in a woman? Come on, give me the list. Claude, come on, give me a list. Give me 5 points of what you look for in a woman.
Okay, number one, I'm looking for a woman who knows herself.
A woman who knows herself. Okay.
I'm looking for a woman who knows herself, knows her weaknesses, and she knows her strength. I'm looking for a woman who's not looking for a man, but a woman who appreciates a good man. I look for a woman who not only loves me, but loves God more. I'm looking for a woman who has an interest, intellectual interest, moral interest, and has the capacity for us to work together and stop looking at other people, stop looking at other shortcomings, stop looking at what you want, and identify the areas that you need. I'm looking for a woman who we can worship and work together, and both of us can look forward to the kingdom of God.
Lovely, lovely. Well said. Thank you. Thank you. Any other men?
Sat here and I'm listening to the ladies, and they are sharing what they want. Nothing is wrong with that. But as my brother rightly just said, I haven't heard any one of them said what God wants for me. The thing about this life, it's all about me, we, us. We have to change that mindset and that concept. We have to start to think what God wants for me, because God knows best. And to be honest, ladies, whenever you get out of a bad relationship, don't let an innocent brother pay for what someone else done to you. Detox yourself before you involve in anything else. Because if you don't detox, an innocent man, it's like an innocent man goes to prison and do sentence for something that he never committed. Many brothers out there are paying for what someone else have done. Not because you got hurt, you're gonna extend that hurt to someone else who doesn't deserve it. And for me, character is my number one. Character. Once there is character, godly character, and to how we treat human being. How we treat human being reflects if we really love God or not. Because we cannot love God and treat our brothers and sisters like garbage.
Yeah.
We have to treat each other with respect and how Jesus Christ intended to be done. I don't want anyone come on here and tell me what they love God and they do not love me or love you or love their brothers and sisters or love their neighbors. That won't work. You gotta love who you see here on earth first.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for that.
All right.
Do we have any other people, any other men on this who haven't spoken? Do we only have 2 men on this forum? Okay, so I'll move on. But there's a part that Claude said that I want to reiterate. Lots of people have lists, and some of the things on their lists, and I think people don't want to embarrass themselves by going through the whole list, but some people's lists are unreasonable. They have things up there which are just unattainable, unreasonable, and they set the bar so high that no man or woman will ever be good enough. And then you have the converse of that, where some people have their expectations so low that they accept anything. And they are willing to take on anything because they're so desperate to be in a relationship. And that desperation to be in a relationship causes disaster. So it's important for people to have a list, but also to be realistic about certain things on that list, and also to be willing to compromise. And also, I think it's important that you yourself are even keel to the person you want. Like some women I've spoken to, they don't want to work, but they want a guy that works. They want a guy that's got loads of money, a house, a car and things, and they just want to be a wife of leisure. And a guy may say, well, I want my wife to work too. And it goes both ways. Some men say, I don't really want to work either. You know, I'm happy just doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but I want a strong woman who's a good mother to my kids, who's hardworking and things like that. Doesn't always work so easy. Then you also have baggage. Baggage isn't always bad, but baggage are things that we've taken on based on life experiences. So some people have, you know, scars because they've come out of difficult relationships and they take that into the new relationship. And before a person can get into a new relationship, it's really important that they go through a process of healing. I don't advocate anybody getting into a new relationship on the rebound, or when you're angry, or to get back at somebody, or someone's cheating on you, so you're going to cheat on them to make them feel rubbish. Like, that's not a healthy place to be. And also, I think it's very important for people to understand that in order for a relationship to work, it takes a lot of commitment, a lot of communication, and lots of give and take. So if I'm asking God to bring a specific type of woman to me, then the second prayer I need to ask is, Lord, may I be the specific type of man that this woman needs? Because if I can't be this specific man that this woman needs, then it doesn't matter how perfect she is, I won't be able to contain her. I won't be able to make her happy. So it goes both ways. Okay, let's move on. Love in the club. Lots of people have said, you know I'm not supposed to, but there's no good men in church or good women in church. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the clubs on the sly, and I'm going to see if I can find someone there. Is this a place to find wife or husband material?
No.
Okay. Well, why is that, Kevin?
I tell you that just sets out as what it is. It speaks for itself. Well, not to say, well, some people might look at it to say, well, it's like instant judgmental, you know, like a person just probably just go there to hang out. It can be, that can also be, you know, a person just having a vibes, you know, their mind maybe not so clear on what they want to do, where they want to be, and that's just where they end up. And honestly, something good can actually come out of that. Probably that's not where the person really wants to be. And if you having the right kind of mindset, of you yourself even ending up there too, and you probably just want to compliment the moment, and your mind maybe just gone to a direction where you feel like you want to just sympathize with the person, and here comes those good parent grandma traits that's gonna come out now, and you're gonna just be in that supportive person, and from there you don't even know what really end up happening there, and you all two probably just leave the club, go home, separate homes, yes, and who to tell, meeting up again from there, and the person could be saying, you know, I thank you for all that you have said, and you know, I feel good about that, and the person probably just never goes back there, you know. Okay. So who knows?
Thank you, Kevin. This is what I would say, because I'm reading the chat, and there's lots of things coming up here. Like, some people have said, if I go to, let me read this now. If I go to find a man in a club, it means that my character is club-like. You attract who you are. Someone has said, why would a Christian want to hang out in that place in the first place? Someone has said, do SDAs go to clubs? The truth is, and Candy said here, Psalm 37 verse 4, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Let's be honest here. Now, I don't advocate clubbing. I used to go to clubbing many, many years ago, long before I became a pastor. I don't advocate clubbing. It's not a conducive place to find anyone, really. But I mean, there are people who have gone to the clubs and bars and parties and they've found their spouse and they've got married. They found themselves in the church and they've lived happily ever after. It happens, but it's not the best place I would ever encourage someone to go to find a partner. I hope that makes sense. But there are people that do look for love in these places because they say that there's a shortage of men in the church, for example. The ratio is like 7-1. So it's harder for a woman to find a man than it is for a man to find a wife. Men have their pick of the choice. They can go out there and do all their dirt and come back and find a nice virgin wife, get married, have kids. Whereas if a woman does the same thing, she is tarnished. So there is a huge concept and a huge issue with misogyny within the patriarchal society of our church, which assumes that if a man does it, it's kind of okay, but if a woman does it, it's wrong. And I don't think that that's right at all. I do believe that two people should be on an even plane, though. And when they are going into a relationship, they should look for what they want and also pray that God gives them what they need. I've got a question here, Sister Rudo. You're muted, sis.
Sorry, it's a comment.
Okay, go ahead.
Rather than a question, yes. I wanted to say, you know, when we enter into a relationship and eventually commit and get married to each other, we're not only getting married to the person that we are getting married to, who also get married to the person whose voice the person listens to. And to be honest, if you get entangled with somebody who is worldly and you are not worldly, sooner or later, you're gonna start be fighting with your in-laws, you're gonna be fighting with the devil, you're gonna be fighting because they'll be pulled there and you wanna be in charge. So you are just setting yourselves to fail. I know, Pastor, yes, you have said there are some people that have made it. We thank God for that, but many people have been hurt having gone to clubs, you know, beer halls and those kind of places to find a partner there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And again, I make the point, it's not a place that I advocate nor encourage people to find, you know, their partners, but it happens. People do go to these places because they want to find someone. Okay, waiting for the perfect man. So there's no such thing as the perfect man. If you are waiting for the perfect man, you'll be waiting till Christ comes through the sky. There's no such thing as a perfect man. We are imperfect people. And that goes both ways. Waiting for the perfect woman. Guys, there's no such thing. What you see in the media isn't real. Now, I want to get to this, and I'm not too sure how much time I have, Eve.
Another 15 minutes.
All right, let's whiz through this here. Communication is the key. So in order for a relationship to be strong, two people need to communicate. The biggest reason why relationships break down isn't because the sex is bad or because they stop making you laugh or because they annoy you or because you don't agree with each other theologically. The most common reason for relationships and marriages breaking down are irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences basically mean that two people are unable to communicate effectively. So communication happens when two people talk or two people convey what they feel or what they experience or what they are going through. Most of communication is nonverbal, and we use this by picking up on cues, body language, facial expressions, hand gestures, and so forth, tone, etc., and so forth. And so two people can communicate, but they may not communicate effectively. So how do we communicate our feelings, you may ask? This is what I've read, and you can tell me if you agree or disagree. Women, and I'm not being sexist, but this is what I read, women tend to be indirect communicators. They tend to use their emotions more to convey what they feel and may often tell a large elaborate story in order to encapsulate their feelings, which are the backdrop to their emotions. Men are seen to be direct communicators, where they tend to say what they think and try to solve the problems that their loved one is going through. Do you agree or disagree with this?
Not necessarily.
Okay, go ahead, Claude.
A lot of times men, if a woman asks them, excuse me, what's wrong, baby? Nothing. What are you thinking? Nothing. Men sometimes become very quiet. Women are more audible. They will speak their mind. And I always say this to one of my friends. This is one of the articles I put in my book some years ago. If you have a spouse and your spouse and you're both having problems and you realize that your spouse is crying, you still have a relationship. Any day she stop crying, you better get a lawyer. Because the truth is, women will put up with things to a certain degree. They will talk. Anytime they stop talking, is over, they're over. And a lot of men don't like that, and they don't know that. Because remember, that heredity. I'm trying to remember one of the points I'd use in my book some time ago. Heredity by itself is the gun, and your lifestyle is the trigger. So a lot of times you find people grow up with a certain level of dispensation. They grew up in a low family setting. The men are abused or they don't talk, and most time when they end up in relationships, they carry the same thing with them. But sometimes it takes a loving, kind, generous, wonderful woman who probably have 4 marriages failed before and decides she don't want this last one fail. She decides she's gonna sit down with this man and she look back at all of the challenges, because there are no relationships that is only failing because of one person. It's unforgiveness and a lot of things that cause them to go down. So a woman decides she's gonna work with this one, and he decides, I'm gonna appreciate her for who she is. It doesn't matter where you find them. It could be in a club. I found a girl in a club and she was so nice, gentle. It was a Pathfinder club anyway. But you know, so everything was working nice until, yeah, everything worked nice until you realize no matter how smart and intellectual somebody is, you are gonna have challenges. And as I mentioned earlier, this is my last point. Effective communication is and always is when both parties speak to each other or does whatever they do, and the 2 parties have a common understanding of what is being said or implied. If you 2 don't understand what is being said, like the Tower of Babel, that is not effective communication. Effective communication is when both parties understand what each other is doing, each other is saying, or each other implies.
Thank you. Thank you, Claude. Thank you. Good points. Do we work? This is what we spoke about earlier, 2 Corinthians 6:14. Do not be yoked together with unbelievers, for what does righteousness and wickedness have in common? Or what fellowship can light have with darkness? We've looked at that, so I'm going to skip past this real quick. Communicate. Dr. Sue Johnson wrote a book entitled Emotionally Functioned Couples Therapy. She also wrote a book called Hold Me Tight, 2 books which I really recommend you to read: Emotionally Functioned Couples Therapy and Hold Me Tight. The book Hold Me Tight is really good. It's based on her findings as a therapist, dealing with couples that had gone through issues and found it really, really hard to communicate. And sometimes 2 people find it hard to communicate, not because they don't love God, but just because they can't find the correct pathway to express themselves in a non-confrontational way. Sometimes that happens. Like, you love someone, but when you speak to them, they shut down. When they speak to you, you get upset. It sounds like nagging to you. It sounds like bullying to them. And so she came up with an acronym, ARE, which we'll look at in a second. A stands for accessibility. Accessibility. So it can simply be defined as I can find you and you are available to me. Accessibility requires frequent physical proximity and emotional availability. That's just really important. In order for someone to build a relationship, that the individual needs to be accessible to them. That basically means that they can find them when they need them. They can talk to them when they need to be spoken to, and they are emotionally vulnerable and available for the individual who they claim they love. The next is responsiveness. It means when you approach me, I respond with emotional attentiveness. It means I look at you, I hear you, I feel you, and I respond in a loving, affirming way. Again, one of the greatest threats to responsiveness is technology-based distractions. So quite often people embark on relationships with someone they care for, and they've got this in their hand, the remote, and they're flicking through the channels, watching their favorite thing. Or they've got this in their hand, their phone, and they're flicking through that, you know, or they're talking on their phone, or they're texting. These are some of the biggest contributors to breakdowns within communication. When you communicate with somebody and you are responsive to them, it shows them that they have your undivided attention. So I tell couples this: if you're in a relationship with someone, have a no phone zone. Maybe it's your bedroom, maybe it's when you have a conversation, etc. One of the things is I don't have a TV in my bedroom, you know, because I like to know that before I go to bed, I can have a conversation with my wife. We can talk, we can pray, we can chat about our day, and I'm not distracted by flicking through the channels, watching my favorite TV program. That's just something that I throw in there for free. Another one, engagement. Engagement means that when you are accessible and sincerely try to respond to my needs, we connect. This type of connection built over time forges a safe haven and a secure base in marriage. It brings a sweetness, a peace, and strength which is unique and powerful among human relationships. So once more, it's important to be engaged with the person. It's important to be available or accessible for the person. It's important to be responsive to the person. If those three things are practiced, according to Dr. Sue Johnson, the communication element within a relationship starts to develop, and there forges a closeness between the couple. Now, some people say that this is the aim, marriage and kids. For some people, this isn't the aim. For some people, the aim is just to amble through life and try to be happy. Some people, the aim is for them to have a family, to have children. For some people, the aim is for them to have frivolous fun. For others, the aim is for them to be celibate and single. Whatever your aim is and the desire is within your heart, pray and ask God to bless this. Now, I don't believe that being single is wrong. Like, some people think that if they're single, it means they're on the shelf or they're washed up, you know, or they're no value. There's no value to them. I don't believe that at all. I believe that if you are in a situation and you are single, sometimes you're single because God is refining you. Sometimes God is working on who you are. Sometimes God is working on your partner and trying to make sure that your partner is right for you and you're right for each other. Sometimes people are single because they just haven't found the right person yet. Sometimes people are single because they haven't cast their net far enough. You know, the Adventist pool in the NEC is very, very small. And if you are based in one church, e.g. Camp Hill, for 20 years, it might be hard to find somebody who's an Adventist, who goes to church regularly and all those things, if you are just stationed to Camp Hill. So I encourage people, go to different churches. Go to Birmingham, different churches in Birmingham, go to Windsor Street, Aston Newtown, Handsworth, you know, go to different churches, not looking for people like you're hungry, but travel to the South England Conference, travel to the Welsh mission, the Scottish, the Irish mission, travel abroad, go to different countries, ask your friends to find, you know, suitable people that they can hook you up with, who you can develop a relationship with or a friendship, you know, travel the globe and see what you can find. You know, some people have also found success on dating sites. I had a couple that met on Plenty of Fish. You know, they went on Plenty of Fish, they met, you know, and they've been married for like 8 or 9 years. It worked for them. Some people I know have met on Adventist Singles or Adventist Match or Adventist Connect, and they've developed a loving relationship and they are happily married. Some people have met and developed relationships because they bumped into each other in the gym or their social club or the supermarket, you know, or they've struck up conversation, you know, at a friend's party or at a baby dedication or at a funeral or at a wedding. There are loads of opportunities to meet people, but we have to make sure that we are available and receptive to the voice of the Holy Spirit as the Holy Spirit prompts us and helps us to walk in the direction to find somebody. This is the question I was asked. What if they just don't get it? And what if the sex is rubbish? I'll give you the context. I did this presentation to a group of young people, and one of them asked this question that I hadn't considered, I guess. And the question was, what do you do if you've waited and you've practiced abstinence for your whole life, get married to the person that you've fallen in love with, and the intimacy is rubbish? You've tried and tried and tried, but the intimacy is just rubbish. They're not connecting with you. They're not connecting with them. You can't wait till it's over. What do you do? I throw this out to the group.
Pray.
Seek help.
Pray, seek help. Okay. That's a start, Simone. What else can you do?
Counseling.
Mm-hmm. It's a good step. Mm-hmm. Anything else?
Talk to them.
I say talk about it.
Yeah, discuss why.
What's going wrong?
Yeah, what is it, and just, have a very good discussion.
Okay, have a good discussion. Discuss what's going wrong.
Yeah,
what
what's
else?
going wrong, and what could we do to make it right, and what is it, is it just me? Is it just, am I only experiencing this, or are you experiencing this as well?
But I think the hard reality is quite a few people have spoken, but they felt that it just hasn't worked. So for example, one person may be enjoying themselves and, having a great time and reaching their O, and the other person may be lying on their back, looking at the stars or the ceiling, thinking to themselves, Lord, when is this over? What happens if they've spoken over and over again? The wife has given the husband a map and said, listen, follow this map. Follow the map of my words. Do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And if you do this, then our climax. What happens if that's happened and the guy still doesn't get it, or vice versa?
Is he following the map though? You might not be following the map. Because if you follow the map, you'll get there. He's obviously not following the map. So he's probably a slow learner, and she has to go over and over again. Make sure he does follow the map.
It's deeper than that. I tell you why. Because sex isn't just about doing A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everything will be perfect. Sex is also about two people connecting. And it's also about a level of chemistry. And somebody can do A, B, C, D, E, F, G and follow the map. But if there is no connection, if there is no chemistry, it just won't work. What do you think?
I give up. Someone else take over.
You were on the right page though, Anne-Marie. You're doing well.
How did they get married?
They followed the Adventist channel. They courted, they got married, they didn't touch each other, they did the vows, and on their wedding night, they started to enjoy each other. Apart from one person enjoyed and the other didn't.
I think there's a time when you come to a place of acceptance. I personally know a married couple who don't have sex. I'm not saying it's the ideal, but I'm saying for some people, they stay together because they made this commitment, and the sex is rubbish, but the other things might work, so it all depends.
Wow, that's sad.
Pastor?
It is, but it's some people's reality.
Absolutely. Thank you, Desiree. Thank you. Anyone else?
If you're a trade person, you see, there are some things that you're gonna have to take into consideration. Number one, there are some things that you have to learn on the job. They're called on-the-job training. Remember, a lot of people expect to read the Bible and know all that happened to David and Goliath. But when you're in the situation of yourself, there are some things that you're gonna have to unlearn and something you're going to learn. And you learn them on the job. If the employer is interested in you, like you, the employee, is interested in the job, both of you can work together. Because the truth is, a lot of people take the same aspect into their personal lives, like they take to the workplace. They have no patience. Listen to me. You know, listen to me. I tell you something. I want to come before you. You know, understand and those kind of things. You have to understand each other, love each other, care for each other, and whatever you know, you teach your partner. Teach your partner. Teach your partner. Because sometimes when you teach your partner, they become one of the best students. A little later on, they have to teach you.
Absolutely. Man, Claude, you've said that so well. Brother, you said that so well that I've lost for words. Okay, so this is the thing. This is what I've found. So it's actually quite common for people who are in long-term relationships to struggle with sexual intimacy. It's actually quite common for people who are in long-term relationships to struggle with sexual intimacy. People change, bodies change, likes, dislikes, couple of arguments, one too many, and things begin to change. Also influences. One of the best pieces of advice, and I think Anne-Marie mentioned this, is it's really important for people to seek therapy or even seek a sex therapist. Now, a sex therapist, the idea of going to a sex therapist may be really uncomfortable for Adventists, but the whole idea is it's a counselor who can maybe work through some of the traumas associated with sex or some of the issues associated with having, you know, a good sexual experience, reaching climax and so forth. If couples do not invest in their relationship and invest in all aspects of their relationship, then sex, like any other part of their relationship, may die. So it's important for people to constantly be investing in this. Practice, as Claude says, learn. Allow your spouse to teach you. You be the student and tell them what they like, what they don't like, how to do it, how not to do it, how fast, how slow, etc., and get it both ways. Because you never want to get into a situation where you've signed that contract, you know, to having to hold for better or worse, to sickness and health, to death do us part. You sign that contract, and then a few years down the line, you're looking at your spouse thinking, man, this is so boring. I wish I was with someone else. So it's important for people to invest in every aspect of their relationship. Pastor Ricardo has a point to make. Go ahead, Pastor.
Yeah, I want to ask a question, Pastor. So several years ago, when I was much younger, yes, I went to a church and they were having a prayer meeting. It was an all-night prayer meeting. And there was a time at the meeting when all the men had to be together. And they were talking about male issues, and the women were together. And one of the elders said that two of the biggest problems in relationship were, one, the pocket, and the thing that was nearest to the pocket. So money and sex were two of the biggest problems, he said. And I realized that this is not really sexual problems that lead to divorce and problems in marriage. It's not something that we talk about in church. You know, it's probably too sensitive, but it's a very key thing to address.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what if a woman marries a man and he's impotent, you know, or he has what they call premature ejaculation? What if that is the situation? What happens? Well, you know, how is that addressed? And these are real things that I think we should face.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pastor Ricardo. That's a real question. It's a real important question. If somebody has a medical problem, I do encourage them to go see medical help, to see a doctor, for example, if they are impotent. You know, definitely go see a doctor. The doctor can give some advice. Lots of things can cause impotency. Sometimes it's associated with anxiety. Sometimes it's associated with an erectile disorder. And if people do not get help, then it can ruin their self-esteem and also put an effect on their marriage. The same as if someone is infertile, you would encourage them to go to a clinic, you know, go speak to a doctor and to get some advice on ways to conceive, you know. And it's the same if somebody, you mentioned another point. So if they have erectile disorder, what was the other thing you said, Pastor?
Premature ejaculation.
Premature ejaculation. So premature ejaculation is really, really common, and it often is associated with it's often associated with high levels of arousal. So what happens quite often is a guy can get too aroused too quickly, and he can just ejaculate too fast. Sometimes within seconds, sometimes within a few minutes, and the woman is left unsatisfied. If that happens, it can cause a lot of discomfort for the man himself. He can feel like he's less than a man or unable to finish the deed. In that instance, counseling really does help because it's often associated with anxiety. And through counseling, an individual can find a way to develop some stamina and to last. Also, through practice, through lots and lots of sex and trying different scenarios may also help the individual to be able to last a little bit longer. So these things are really, really important. Claude, I think you had a point to make.
Yes, one of the things I want to say though is it is important for men to be very honest with the women. Be honest with the women from day one. Let the woman know you're dead, but you're still alive. Let the woman know that guess what happened? I have some problem here, I have this, I have that. And guess what happens? Sometimes they can help you along the way because premature ejaculation, I was made to understand, comes through mental. It's the mind. Sometimes it's the mind, the overworking of the mind that really causes that. And also, a lot of things people don't seem to understand. If you are the kind of person who is always involved in masturbation, what masturbation does after a while, it breaks your mind frame to the point where it's like you're over the edge before you know it. And that's why you have to be very careful the sexual practices that you're involved in. Way ahead of, because the way you practice is the way you play. And you have to be very, very careful of that. And my last point is, men need to understand, and it is simple and straight, that there are some medical problems that can create sexual dysfunction, one of which is high blood pressure. Hypertension, remember, it's the blood flow that goes through that helps you to do all of these kind of stuff and make you, the woman can know, ooh, he's excited. You have high blood pressure, she wonder if she's in the room or you don't see her. And sometimes the women are the reason why the men behave the way they do. Women go to bed in jeans pants, go to bed in all kind of stuff. So, men are the kind of people like this. They are aroused by what they see. Mm-hmm. And men and women are aroused by what they hear, and it is important for our men to understand. Know the woman, know women. Women are aroused, and women are aroused simply because they are different. They are different from us. A woman will be heated. She's like a hot plate. Even when you plug her out, she is still hot. And a man is like a light bulb. As you click the switch, he's off. So you have to understand who you are, understand the difference between how a woman thinks than how a man thinks. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem because we don't know how to relate to each other.
Yes. Yes. Good point. Thank you. Very good point. Building on what you said, Claude, some couples have reported that an additional reason why the sex can sometimes be rubbish is because they have a preconceived idea of what good sex is, which can often come from pornography. So for couples who have indulged in copious amounts of porn, they sometimes can develop an understanding or an ideal of what good sex is based on what they've seen, and if you are watching acting and you're trying to keep up with that, you will never be able to do so because it's fake, it's not real. And so I never encourage anyone to watch porn and believe it's very destructive for the fabric of anyone's relationship. Eve, I think I'm almost out of time. Do we have any questions at all?
Yes. No questions. Would it be acceptable for the man to use a toy in case he can't perform?
Would it be acceptable for a man to use a toy in case he can't perform?
Mm.
I think personally, it's not something that I would encourage. I think everyone has to make their own choice when it comes to marriage. I think there's a context of, for example, what if the man has had an accident and he's lost part of his penis? Or if the man is a quadriplegic and the medication won't help him to get aroused, in that instance, I would say, it would be appropriate in that context. But if the man has a fully working member, I wouldn't advocate using a sexual toy because his penis is there. And also bringing in an additional toy can cause problems because while he's away at work, his wife may be going to town on herself with that toy. So I think it can create some problems, and it's not something that I personally would encourage, but we all are autonomous individuals and have to make our own choices. Pastor Ricardo.
Oh, yes. So we are older singles. Most of us who are here right now. And many people have had many sexual experiences in the past. And some were unhealthy experiences. You know, I'm talking about fornication or pornography and so on. How does one free oneself from all of these past bad sexual experiences that were ungodly and embrace and see sex in a godly context when they transition into a marriage?
Very good question. It's very difficult. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine got married. He's been married for probably about 8 years now. And before he got married, he had loads and loads of sexual experiences. You know, he wasn't really practicing as a Christian. He was in the world, so to speak, and he used to go out clubbing, you know, and he's had hundreds of women. And so what happened is when he got married now to his wife, he found it very difficult not to compare the sex with his wife, which he defined as boring, in comparison to the fun sex, in quotation marks, that he's had with those hundreds of women. And what happened is he really struggled, because every time he'd make love to his wife, if it was boring, he'd be thinking about, you know, all of those other women he had, you know? And so the only way he could get through this was by having some therapy. You know, that's one of the things, to have some counseling, that helps. Another way he would get through this was by watching no porn. So every time he watched pornography, it reminded him of the fun he had in the past. So he had to make a conscious decision not to watch pornography. He then had to make a conscious decision to communicate more with his wife, you know, and find a way to please her, and find a way to allow sex to be exciting between the two of them. So what happened is he needed to build a new neural pathway in his mind and create a new habit, a new sexual habit with his wife, where they could be fun, could be spontaneous, where they could go on weekends away, where they could have sex in different places. He had to make sex with his wife better than anything that he ever experienced in the past by creating a new experience. In terms of pornography now, it's really difficult. And there are some tools that people can use to come off pornography, some Bible study guides. There's a website, I think it's called Setting Captives Free. It has like a 60-day Bible study program, which is geared on breaking free from sexual addiction. Once more, it's called Setting Captives Free, something that I've encouraged people to use. Also, having filtering software on your devices. So I have children, and my kids are quite young, and they use my phone and my emails and my phone and my internet and things on my computer and tablet and so forth. And I have software on them, so they can't Google apples and find pictures of naked women, you know. And having filtering is really, really good, because what happens is it prevents our children from stumbling across things they shouldn't see. And it's the same with, if someone has been watching porn for many, many years, I always encourage them to have filtering software on their devices too, so that they can't Google inappropriate images. And these types of things really, really do help. In extreme cases, I've also encouraged people to go to Sex Anonymous meetings. It's like an AA meeting, like an Addiction Anonymous, and where you can go and you can talk to other people and find sobriety with groups of other people who have struggled with sexual addiction too. Now, I think there's a terrible stigma associated with sexual addiction that shouldn't be there, because all sins are the same in God's eyes. So if you lie, you kill. If you kill, you steal. If you steal, you commit adultery. It's all the same in God's eyes. And I think we need to be more open about finding practical methods and ways of dealing with sexual addiction, because it's pushed in our faces. You go on Instagram, Facebook, social media, you know, you watch certain films, you know, you listen to certain music, your kids watch music videos, there's sex there. So because it's bombarded in our faces, it becomes hard for us to break away from this. And if we don't talk about this, but bottle it up inside, then what happens is half the church becomes affected with sexual addiction, and no one talks about it and gets any relief. So it's important for people to find help in talking, but that's a whole nother presentation in itself. Do we have any more questions, Eve?
Can I ask one quick question before you go? Pastor, yeah. We've come to an age where we see a lot of choices being done these days.
They teach homosexuality in schools in America. They teach homosexuality everywhere. Now, here's the deal. What does how does a woman operate? With women and men do it, Missy. We had a discussion recently in church, and one of the things that some of the young girls brought up is that they're now having sex they are doing anal sex now to preserve their virginity. Listen up. And so how do you cope with a woman who is accustomed to doing that? So when you get married to her, now she wants you to do that. And the next thing is, would you marry to a woman? Well, woman. Would you marry to someone who was a male before?
I can't hear that. Would I marry someone who?
They're in the church now. A lot of them.
I miss what you said.
Who was born? Someone was born a male.
A transsexual. Oh, okay. I get your questions. So the question is, the first question is anal sex, right? So the question is, how do you deal with someone if you marry your spouse and they expect anal sex? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And the second is a transsexual. Oh, okay. All right. So I'll answer these like this. Okay. First and foremostly, like anal sex is defined as sodomy. It's defined as an act that took place in Sodom. You know, it's something which was made fashionable by homosexuals. A woman has a vagina, so she doesn't need to be penetrated in her anus, as far as I'm concerned. I would never advocate anal sex. I don't believe anal sex is befitting of anyone who practices Christianity. I know some couples do what they want to do in the privacy of their home, and that's their business, but it's not something that I'd encourage. And also, when an anus is penetrated, it can often tear. You know, it's very thin skin in the anus. If it's penetrated, it can rip, which can cause loads of different infections. It's not something which I would advocate. If a man marries a woman and she wants anal sex, well, that's up to him. You know, I'm not in his home. He can do as he pleases, but it's not something that I would encourage. And if a man married, a woman, and she wanted to have anal sex and he was uncomfortable with that, well, then I would encourage the man to speak up and say, you know, no, you know, this isn't something that I'm going to practice. This isn't something that I believe is correct or befitting, and that be it. I think it's important to have an open dialogue because, you know, Claude, as you mentioned, we live in a time where it's not even frowned upon. Like, no one raises an eyebrow outside the church when it comes to anal sex. It's just seen as a different form of sex. You know, you make sure you're clean, make sure you haven't had too much to eat, and you go for it. You know, it's seen as acceptable. The second question is someone who's a transsexual.
Of course it is. That's exactly what I think.
Pardon?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the second question was about someone who's a transsexual. So I've been to Thailand about 3 times. I think it's a beautiful place and I love the country. And if it wasn't for COVID, I would have gone again because it's cheap to get to and it's cheap when you're there. It's beautiful. And it's interesting because you see, and I feel uncomfortable saying this, but you will walk around during the middle of the day and you will see these really attractive looking women and they'd be dressed up to the nines in high heel shoes and elegant dresses and, you know, nothing revealing, but they'd be dressed up like they're going to a ballroom gown, you know, in their ballroom gowns, and they'd be dressed up to the nines, you know, and it'd be middle of the day and everyone be in t-shirts and shorts. And, you know, my children, after a while, they could spot out, you know, Dad, that's definitely a man, or that's a man, because they have certain features. They're a little bit taller, you know, they're overly sexualized, they walk a certain way, and you can tell. Now, if they came into the church, some people would be fooled and think that they are women. Now, according to God, they're still a man. And you know, being transsexual is a whole different debate in itself, because some people genuinely believe that due to the nature of sin, they feel as though they were born in the wrong body. So they were born a man when they really believe they should have been born a woman, and all sorts of things. If one came into the church and wanted to get married, well, we wouldn't be able to perform a marriage ceremony because they will be seen as a man, and the relationship would be deemed as a homosexual relationship because they biologically were born as a man. Even if they'd gone through the procedure, they still would be a man. So, you know, if a couple decided that they wanted to embark on a relationship like that, again, it's their choice. But as a pastor, I would not be able to endorse that. Neither would I be able to perform a marriage ceremony, because in God's eyes, they still are a man.
Awesome.